Hi there. So this was supposed to be a very straightforward tutorial on how to repair a water damaged area in a ceiling, but right when you think the video is supposed to be wrapping up, something happens and it keeps on going. So you're going to see me back here in the studio 2 more times, just giving you guys some behind the scenes stuff on what's actually happening, and then at the very end of the video I'm going to explain why the repair went the way that it did, because I figured out some stuff after I finished filming and everything, so stay tuned for that. That being said, I will see you back here in a scotch. Enjoy the video. Yo, what's cracking, folks? Jeremy Vassar here, and I've got you on the job site today with me to do a repair that we do quite often. You might even see this in your own home. It's really common, and that is we have some water damage in the ceiling from a rainstorm. Got some good driving sideways rain into this roof, and the old roof was not sufficient enough to keep the water out, so we got some damage actually in an area that we just painted. This whole area that I'm in right now was kind of a recent renovation that we painted, and it's actually kind of the best case scenario for this type of touch-up because I know exactly what paint was used and how long ago it was painted, and I also know what roller covers were used so we can replicate that texture. But I'm going to run you through this whole repair in case you might have to do this on your own. And this is how we do it. So I'm going to show you the damaged area real quick. Right here you can see the water damage area. That's that like outside rim here. Boom. And then there's a little fella right there that also needs to be repaired. And the carpenter, not only did he fix the roof, but he also spackled a few little issues that were within that area. So those need to get sanded, which I'm gonna do, and then I will start my repair. So it's super important with a repair like this to not just go over it with your finish paint, so in this case it's ceiling paint, because if you don't oil prime that water damaged area, it's going to come right through the paint, you're gonna see it. So we wanna make sure none of that flashes through. So we're gonna be using a shellac-based primer first. From Zinsner. It's called Ben, used it a bunch before, and then we'll run our top coats, and I'll kind of just show you guys the process. So here we go. I've got everything tarped off and prepped behind me. Everything's covered in painter's plastic, and I attached it with some yellow frog tape up top at the crown molding here. And generally when you are tarping things off, you want to give yourself a little bit more wiggle room than you think. One of the biggest differences between professional painters and DIY folks, or less good painters will say, is that they don't tarp off enough area so that they get splatter on things that they shouldn't get splatter on. I'll turn the camera around here in a second, but I also have sanded the 2 spackle spots that were there and vacuumed all that up. So I don't have my dustless sander with me, so we had to do it old school with just a shop vac. So now we need to oil prime these 2 spots, and that's what's up. So I'll kind of show you my setup here. And you can kind of see I've got all of this tarped off here, and then all this section here is tarped off with plastic. I've got plenty of overlap. I've even tarped off the corner of this couch here just in case. I've got my 2 pans here with the same exact roller covers that we used for this job, which is 1/2" Worcester Pro Doozy FTP rollers. So that is the same nap that was used before, and I'm going to be using Ben primer. It's a shellac based primer that's going to go on as our kind of base coat over top of the stained area, and then we're going to do 2 coats of Promar ceiling paint, which is what we used on this ceiling previously. It's pretty nice on this one. I should actually be able to roll everything. I shouldn't have to cut in anything at all, which is nice. Because of just where the stain is, I'll be able to get close enough with these 9" rollers. So that is what I'm going to do now. We're going to start with the Ben primer, get that to dry, and then move on to our top coats. Okie doke, we are all primed up. So all of this has been shellacked right above me here. I did run into a bit of an issue. It's probably gonna be a little bit hard to see. Let's see if I can get it up here. Yeah, right here, when I sanded, so right, all this stuff here, When I sanded, it just got a little rough. So I just added a little wood putty there to smooth out some of the, like just some of the spackle got dug out a little bit. I just smoothed that out. But this shellac-based primer, you can see another spot. This is the other little spot I did right. The shellac dries super quick, so it flashes off really quick. And I had a fan going, so now it is dry, and I'm ready to do my first top coat of ceiling paint. We used untinted Promar ceiling paint here from Sherwin-Williams, so that is what I'm going to use right now. When you do your first roll coat of the primer, you don't need to go that far out from where the repair is. When you do your touch-up, on the first coat, I'm going to stay pretty tight to what I rolled here, but then on the second coat, I'm going to expand the area that I'm going to be rolling just to kind of feather it out a little bit so that it blends into the rest of the ceiling a little bit better. We're just going to go out a little bit wider than we did before. Ooh, we got some schmutz in the paint. Alright, so got a decent amount of schmutz. It's just dried paint from the can, which it was a new can. I wasn't expecting it to be chunky, but it has been sitting in my truck for a hot second. So one way to avoid it is to strain the paint, which I'm going to write strain on this can so I know to strain it next time. But if you get the flecks out of there, then you just want to make sure you hit it again with the roller so that you're getting the same texture and not the wiping of your fingers. So that's the repaired area, all of this. Boom. Looking pretty good. Alrighty, so pretty much all done here.
Are you sure about that?
Nope. So, finished that video, everything looked great, and then a couple days later, the homeowner sent me this picture and said there's a little crease in the spackle right in the middle of the repair. It was really hard to tell from the picture what was actually going on, and I didn't have time to get back there right away. Then a couple more days went by, and Eric, my buddy who's the general contractor on that job site, sent me this picture, which now has two areas that are cracking out, and I was like, what is going on? So now I went back to the job site, and that's where our tale picks up right now. What's happening is like, it actually is failing. Boom. It's like chipped out, like it's bubbled. And I don't know why exactly, but what we're gonna have to do now is actually, I'm gonna scrape all this with a spackle blade, and then I'm gonna spackle out this area to get it even. I think the ceiling paint didn't adhere properly or something to that effect, so I'm gonna get in here, but what happens is I need to scrape off all the stuff that's loose, then spackle it so I can get it even Steven, and then we'll have to come back and prime and recoat. So it's just turning more into an ordeal than I thought. So that's what's up. right, so I chipped out these two areas here, and it really looks like there may have been some more moisture back there. These are right where the nails are. I should probably prime this with bin primer before I spackle. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. That'll seal that in. Then we'll go from there. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and get a mini roller and some bin primer and just smoke this out real quick to seal all this in, because I don't want this to happen again. And that's how we're gonna approach that. So, all right, so now I'm gonna just use this little mini roller here and apply a coat of bin primer. The homeowner's got a skedaddle, so I gotta do this pretty quick and dirty and get out of here. So I'll have to come back tomorrow to start on the rest. But that's it. I've bin primed these two areas right here, and that's what's up. So there's like some nail pop there, and they're both rusted. So I just want to make sure I seal all that in so that doesn't leak through. And this is kind of like, as much as I thought the last repair was bomb-proof, this will be even more so. I'm kind of going to leave my setup here, and then we'll be back tomorrow to patch, and I don't know if I'll have time to paint it or not. We'll see. So, all right, onward. That's one coat right there. We'll come back and do a second coat when this dries later today, and then smooth all this out. Coat 2. Alrighty, we are back on site after my spackle has dried, which I will show you guys here in a second. But where it's at now, everything is fixed, and I've got my 2 layers of spackle on here looking super good. I just need to sand it, which I'm going to use a Fez tool, which I'll show you guys here in a second. But that is a dustless sander that's hooked to a vacuum. It's super awesome, and it basically cuts down quite a bit on the dust that's generated when I sand, which is really nice because I'm in a fully furnished home and not everything's tarped off like in the rest of the room. So it just is a really nice thing. Homeowners really like it, we really like it, and it's great. So the process that I'm going to go through in this kind of section here is I'm going to Fez tool / sand down this patch, and then I'm going to prime it with regular latex primer. We've already been primed what we needed to, and then once it's primed with, I think I just have Sherwin-Williams multi-purpose that I'm going to use today, and then I'm going to run 2 top coats of Promar sealing paint, which again is the same sealing paint that we used. I don't have my like A squad gear with me because I've got a bunch of my crap at the other job site where my brother and Brendan are, but that's why you don't throw away everything that's in your truck. Sometimes it's all you have. So I'm kind of I've cobbled together enough of what I need, from mini rollers to regular rollers and stuff, but that is what I'm doing now. So here we go. This is less than ideal because I don't have any actual metal pans with me, but I'm just going to use liners. Also, I'm not going to, for the priming, I'm not going to use my Pro Doozies because I don't want to waste a $3 or $4 roller on this. So I've just got a little 1/2-inch whizzer here, which will be fine because it's the same. I can get it to be the same texture as the ceiling paint, so that's fine. So again, this is standard latex primer. You'll see there are pinholes in there. I'm gonna fill those after I get this primed because it just needs to be skimmed real quick. I was rushed for time last time I was here, so I didn't get to really spackle it out how I really would have liked to. What's happened up here is there's some, once you sand, if you had any air pockets in the spackle, it shows up at these little like divots in the spackle, which is fine. I'm just going to, because I didn't get to spackle it out how I wanted to, you just end up with something like that sometimes. It's okay. But what I'm gonna do is bring a fan in, get it on here, get it to dry, and then once it's dry, I'm going to run a super fine coat of spackle over top those little holes. Probably use a heat gun to get that to dry, and then kind of, I'll probably hand sand it and then keep it going. So we'll just keep on keeping on. All right. All right, now we're skim coating. Hopefully you guys are be able to see this. All right, so this is what it looks like now. I just filled in a few of these little, it looks like a lot, but it's a really super thin layer of spackle just over these little pinholes. And then I'm going to hand sand it because it's not that much sanding, and sometimes the Fez tool can be a little bit aggressive and taking it down too far. So I will do that in a minute. What I'm gonna do now is I need to move this along. I know you guys might see some videos either on like those car building shows on TV or even like HGTV shows or whatever, where they're like, we gotta finish by blah, 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 or else the world's gonna end. Okay, that sometimes those are not true. However, right now it is 2:21. I have a quote for a good client of mine at 4 o'clock, which I really need to get to. And I prefer not to come back here to work on this anymore. This has already gotten like taken up way too much of my time. So I'm really trying to finish today, which means I have about, I'd say roughly an hour to kind of finish this out. So I need to scoot this along. To do that, I've already used a fan. I'm gonna keep that going. And then I'm also gonna use a heat gun, which is this jammy here. This is the Wagner, and this is like the one with all the bells and whistles. It's got like a bunch of different settings and whatever, but I'm gonna heat gun this real quick. There's no sprinklers or anything in here that I need to worry about setting off with this thing, which is super important to not do. But that's what I'm doing right now, and I'm just gonna heat gun this to dry it. That should be pretty quick, and then I'm gonna hand sand, prime, and then start doing my top coats. So I just gotta kind of keep rocking this out and scooting it along because I got stuff to do, man. So here we go. All right, it's looking good. Just got a hand sand. Don't super recommend that you do this, but I'm gonna do this because I don't have enough time. This is just low shrink that I need to sit in here because I don't like how that looks and this looks. Especially that little, just sanded a little divot, not how I want it to. I'm being a little picky, but we're almost there. All right, now we're just gonna prime this. Some of you might be aware that you can prime with a dead flat ceiling paint, which is what Promar is. I just went ahead and used multi-purpose because I'm just trying to bomb-proof this repair. It's unlikely you will have to do something like this at the speed that I'm currently doing it, but that's where I'm at right now, and I'm gonna go ahead and kick the fan back on. I'm gonna bag up the primer and then prep my rolling pan for the ceiling paint. And yeah, pretty happy with where things are at right now. 2 more top coats, here we go. I gotta go get a brush, I'll be right back. All right, you little booger. All right, so this needs to dry, and then we'll do another coat. So I'm gonna cut the fan back on. We're doing the last coat. I'm just gonna cut in that back a little bit. Oh man, it's chunky monkeys up there. That is super not great. Oh, that's annoying. Okay, there's a brand new can. All right, so what you want to do is just get all this crap out. It's just dried paint that's either in the can, or maybe it's a possibility some of it dried in the can, which is annoying. So once I'm done this, then I'm gonna back roll with kind of like an empty roller. There's not a lot of paint on this now, but at least it'll give me the texture that I want, and then cover up. Like now, as you can see, it's not, repair looks good, and I don't have any of those chunky monkeys in there. Don't know how useful this video is to you guys, because it's basically supposed to be a pretty straightforward tutorial, and it turned into me basically being on the struggle bus for a couple days here, but we got it done. Alrighty, so I'm actually done, and here is what happened with this repair. We had some sideways rain that caused the initial water damage. The general contractor, Eric, he came in and fixed the roof, so there was no more water coming in, which is great. However, he thought he was going to be able to do the touch-up himself, so he actually did the initial spackling over some damaged areas within that stain, and then he kind of sent me a picture of it. It was just like, hey, do you have any of the original ceiling paint? I need to go over this area. And I texted him back, I'm like, well, if you go over that, you're gonna, you have to use an oil primer or a shellac-based primer to seal it in. So then he was like, I don't, you know, he was getting less comfortable with the repair, so I just said I'd come and do it and make a video out of it. So that is where the video kind of picks up. However, I'm super confident that when he spackled over those 2 damaged areas, that what he spackled over, the paint had already given out underneath. So there was, when I chipped it out, and you saw that in the video after my initial repair, when I chipped it out, that was like several layers of paint came off. So it went all the way down to the drywall. So it went through a base coat of primer, 2 top coats of Promar ceiling paint, a coat of bin primer, and then 2 more top coats of Promar ceiling paint for my repair. So it went all the way down to the bare drywall where those nails were showing through, which if I had my druthers and could go back in time and do this all correctly, what would happen is I would come in right when the water damage happened, right after the roof repair, and I guarantee you that the paint was already loose in those 2 areas. That needed to be chipped out, and it should have looked more like it did when I started my second round of repairs, which then I did the bin primer, spackled it out, and all that stuff. So basically, Eric, which is nothing, you know, it's a kind of like a fluke thing, but he spackled over paint and primer that had already failed and was not connected anymore to the drywall. So then when I put all my top coats over top of his spackle, it just gave out, and that's what cracked out. So that is the mystery of that repair and why it went the way that it did. I ended up figuring it out. It just took a lot longer than I was anticipating, which is okay. Hopefully that made for a more entertaining video. And if you're doing a repair like that, just make sure that if you're gonna spackle anything, I would highly recommend just make sure nothing is loose. That happens all the time with water damage, is that it ruins the paint and causes it to fail, and then you lose adhesion on the drywall or whatever's underneath. So you just wanna make sure you're not spackling over anything loose. And also in those instances, and you saw me do it in the video, if you have rusted out nails and things, you really want to prime that with your oil primer before you start spackling into it. That is kind of how I would prefer to do things. If you enjoyed this video, you may also enjoy a video I did a little while ago called 10 Things You Must Prime to Avoid Paint Fails. I will link to that at the end of this one. Thank you guys very much for watching, and until next time, y'all take it easy, work smart, and have a good one. Peace. That's Dexter. He's the dog that lives here, and he's pretty great. Right, buddy? You good boy? You good boy? Are you happy with the repair? Are you happy with the repair? Do you think your parents will be cool with it too? Yeah? What do you think? Who's a good boy? That's right, I fixed the ceiling. That's right. Yeah, man. You did good. Thanks for keeping me company, dude. You have a good day too. I'm out. Thanks for keeping me company, man. See ya. Dexter says bye. Come on, look at this guy. He's ridiculous. How cute is he?
Amazing.